thanks Busy's for drawing everybody in here. I think when y'all heard Busy's, the attendance numbers went way up. I know they did with our players. So thanks for coming out for a local media day. It's really important to our kids to get to see y'all's faces. Guys are going to be with us. If you haven't got a moon ball yet, make sure you get one before you leave. It's kind of our side-by-side talk this year, combined with you'll see a lot of NASA-themed things this year. We're talking about on the mission that we're on, and I've been using a lot of that. So thanks for coming out. I'm not usually an opening statement guy, but I think today warrants that a little bit. I go back to 2012, first of all. I was coaching in Cincinnati. My daughter Abby was 16 going on 17, had just started dating, or at least sharing that she was dating with Dad from a distance, that she was starting to go on dates. So mind you, I'm sitting here in Cincinnati, Ohio, an hour ahead of everything that she was doing in her world at that time, an hour time zone away. So I had kind of a standing deal of, if you're going on a date, text me when you get home, at midnight. Text me at midnight, which was 1 o'clock my time in Cincinnati. So there I'd be sitting knowing that she had a date, and at literally my time, 1:01 and 30 seconds, when I didn't have a text message from her that she had made it home, my mind immediately went negative. I started picturing her either in a bad car wreck or in the trunk of a car being extradited to a country to be a sex slave, and she was at gunpoint. And this is 30 seconds into not knowing. Usually about 2 or 3 minutes later, I'd get a text saying, "Hey, Dad, sorry I was late. I was driving a drunk friend home." So it completely changed my perspective, that little paradigm shift. So I think it's fitting for today to know that that's kind of the way we all are. We're human. That's the way our minds work. When we have lack of information, we tend to go negative. That kind of came up on our team last Friday. When Jersey announced that she'd be leaving the team, we spent the weekend with a lot of negativism because of lack of information. I'm not sure I'm going to give you a whole lot more information, but I know that that's everybody's dying question. I didn't want anybody to have to be the first person to ask about it, so I'm letting y'all off the hook. I'll talk about it. I'll take any questions I can. And I get that's where our minds go. And with the way that first of all, most everything in our profession is private anyway. And y'all get to see about 1% of what goes on. Everything that we do, a lot of what we do is in private, and it stays private. Those of y'all that we have open practices, y'all can come. I know, Grant came to 10 in a row that we had, and I think Ethan was at half those, and y'all come to all the games, and y'all support, and you do, everything that you can to follow us, but it's still just not all the information that is out there. So I'll do my best to clear all that up. Last Friday, Jersey came in, and after a really brief conversation, mentioned the word transfer portal, and whenever that happens, we are trained as coaches to send them immediately to compliance. So that's what I did. I think a lot of the confusion is because of the lack of understanding of the rule. We have one of the best compliance offices in the country, and we follow it daily, but the portal thing is new and it changes. So I think some of the confusion came when Jersey had put out a release, or people started getting that she had entered the transfer portal. There is no transfer portal window right now to enter. The transfer portal doesn't open until March. You can put your name in there and make it available, but if you choose to use the time right now between now and March, you can go to another school, you can go to another campus, but that would mean you would not be eligible. And I'm just talking in general, anybody going in, not Jersey, any person in there in transfer portal prior would forfeit a half a year of eligibility, because you wouldn't be eligible till Christmas. And we've, I think once that information we all got through, it's hard to keep up with. It's not anybody's fault. It's just a hard rule to know. And I think once all the options were laid out there, obviously it's best for her to wait. So that's all I really have to say about it, other than that, this is my failure. When I recruited Jersey, we did it on a 10-year plan. I think that's what made us different than everybody else that was recruiting her. We had a 10-year plan. She wanted to be a WNBA player. I knew through experience of having a few WNBA players that it's one of the hardest jobs in America to have. There's only 144 jobs on a good year. Some years that number's 133. Because not everybody carries 12 people on their roster. So we set out with a plan. to help her get to that point. It was my plan. I was trying to execute it the best I could. We were 2 years into it. I was trying to help her get to where when she got to the WNBA, she'd be able to do the things that she wanted to do. And quite frankly, I just failed in that. It's not a reflection on my staff. It's not a reflection on our development system. It's just a case where not all of them work. It didn't work out. So it's on me, definitely not on our staff, not on the systems. You can't blame the system because we've had a lot of success in other areas and other people. It's just we're not going to get them all right. So we had a very amicable talk. It's hard on me because y'all know I'm a relationship person. I get very close to our players, and it hurts anytime you don't get the opportunity to see a player reach their end of their journey. But she will be great. Whatever she decides to do, we are in full support of it. I will answer any questions I can here at the first part. I'll also tell you this. I've told our team, we scheduled this thing a long time ago, and I didn't give them a statement to read. I didn't tell them what to say. I don't think it's fair or that we should, as a coach, do that to them. So I would just ask you to be mindful those kids are kids out there. If you're going to ask them questions about it, just be mindful. I'm the adult in here and they're the kids. They're still growing kids. But I have not given them a statement to read. I've let them and told them to be prepared to talk about it if they want to. Some of them don't know. I mean, quite frankly, some of our freshmen and newcomers don't really know anything. But our other kids have a voice, and I've encouraged them to use it. So, like I said, I'm really hopeful that we can take questions in here. I'll take whatever you want, and then at some point pivot to what we were all showing up for, not just the busies, and talk about the season we have upcoming and all the things that we're excited about. So, yeah.
Did Jersey say maybe what she wanted or where she wanted to be, anything like that, of maybe her progression?
No, and if she had, y'all know me well enough to know I'm not going to talk about things that we had in private, and she may talk about it, and she's welcome to if she needs to, but that was not, whenever I heard the word, and I got the sense pretty quickly into the conversation that it was headed, and I'm not a talk people into staying. So whenever the word transfer hits, I immediately send them up. But she did not give me anything other. It was very amicable. I used that word yesterday. I had to look up what it meant before I used it. And I think I used it properly yesterday. So I'm going to stick with the one that I know. We've had a great relationship, and we'll continue to have, just like I try to have with everybody that it doesn't work out with. Because I know I'm going to see him down the line someplace. But no indication from her at that point.
Looking at your roster, what do you like most about the team you have right now?
The versatility and the depth. The fact that in practice for the first time in 7 years, it's always the last thing you add. When we came here, we had 5 kids in the locker room, so depth really wasn't an issue. It's taken us a while to get there, but now we have it. So when you're making out these practice schedules, which you'll have a copy for today, you'll look over in the corner, there'll be all these teams that we put together every single day. In the past, when you'd put teams together, we'd probably have a pretty good pool around the office on who we thought would win. You can't do that this year. It's not, this person's on that team, so they're going to win. I like the fact that we can really isolate matchups. I think we're able to, we've talked about the press some. We're able to press full court. We're able to play as fast as we've played since we've been here. We've had 2 closed-door scrimmages to practice those things and the 3 exhibition games on our overseas trip. And we've really seen a lot of cool lineups. You'll look up 1 minute. I talked to all of our coaches that we play against. They said, Coach, y'all come out of one timeout and you've got a 5'6" kid and 4 kids 6'3" or better. And then the next time out, you come out and you got 4, 5, 8 kids and 1 6'5" kid. We can't match up, and we don't know how to adjust. So it's kind of fun. I think that we will settle in, but I do think the depth and the versatility is exciting for everybody.
I've got a handful, but I promise I will pass off the microphone after this question. Yeah. But with Michaela, if I'm going to ask her too, but what do you think are her goals for this final year?
Very simple. I'll just predict this. She's going to say win. All seniors want to win. Freshmen want to play. Juniors want to shoot. Or junior. It just get that seniors want to win. And she said it. That's why she came back. She's already the winningest player in the SEC. We've confirmed that, hadn't we? I was messing around with it one day, and there's not a player currently on an SEC roster with more SEC wins. You would win a bar bet if you know that, because there's a lot of great players in our league. But as far as sheer SEC wins, she wants to win. And you can tell. She's really taken on a vocal, which is not really her style. She's come to me at times. So I think she certainly wants to win. And for us, how do you define a win? It's NCAA tournament. She's been in them. She knows the difference. Not everybody does. She knows the difference, and she felt the sting like we all did last year of not making it 4 years in a row. She wanted to be the first to do that. When you know Michaela, you see her high school track record, you see her summer league record. That's what she's all about. So I think that's what's driving her.
Coach, losing Jersey so late, how does that, there are a lot of changes that have to happen, or is it kind of, okay, we've lost a piece, let's kind of keep going with what we've been doing all off season?
It feels late to everybody that doesn't have the calendar we do. I've had a lot of people ask me that question. It's not late. It's actually early. It's the best time for it to happen. We haven't played a game yet. We were using from April of last year. When we got back from the NIT tournament, they got a couple weeks off. I met with every single player on our roster to find out what their intentions were. We had a couple that did leave. But the group that was here was very committed to being here. So as a result, we didn't go to the transfer portal. We had the team on our roster. We had confidence in our freshmen. We've sold ourselves as a place that does develop. So it would have been counter to our evidence if we had gone heavy into the portal. So the fact that we didn't meant that we were very comfortable with our depth. Then after overseas trip, after you saw what we had, now remember Christina wasn't on our overseas trip either, but we had who we had. And Jenna comes in and leads us in scoring and rebounding. Talia does what she did. Keats did what she did. And again, what most people forget about was Sasha was back. So, you're talking about everybody wants to focus on what we lost and not focus on what we got. And so I think after those 3 games over there, then you come back here and we start our off season and Christina shows up and everybody's like, wow. So our depth got even deeper. Then you go into these 10-day, we had 30 days to practice. The way the calendar works, you have 30 days. We had 25 of those up until last Friday. So it's kind of late in the calendar, but we were still in that stage. So we hadn't decided anything yet. As a result, I think you'll get the chance to see Christina and Jenna a little earlier. But they've certainly earned that right. So it doesn't hurt. It takes one player away from the rotation, but it was already going to be a deep rotation.
One of the players that's coming back, Samara. She led you guys in assists and field goal attempts last year.
Yep.
That's kind of hard to do, that kind of balance with the new pieces around and maybe with some scoring gone. Do you want her to kind of lean one way or the other a little bit more heavily in terms of score distributor, or is it just more of, kind of trying to maximize that balance again?
Just to see where it goes. All of our kids, I think, especially our kids in our heavy rotation, understand that every game's a little different. We can't control what the other team tries to do defensively. They may come out and say, don't come off, Sam. Stay and do this, do that, and that. So you can't do it really on a game-by-game basis. You have to look at it as a whole. I think Sam feels very confident in all of her teammates this year. There's a new Sam out there. She also led us in minutes played. I think almost broke the school record, or did break. Yeah, she broke a season record for minutes played, so she's hard to get off the court because of her versatility. She can score when she needs to. She can distribute when she needs to. She can defend when she wants to. And those have really come together. So I'm just going to let her feel the thing out. We're going to play the 3 littles. We have made some decisions now after our 2 scrimmage games, our closed-door scrimmages, and now we're done. Today's our last day of camp, too. I don't know if you've put all – this is our last day before we start prep on Sunday for Louisiana Monroe. So they's kind of got an end of the season or end of camp feel. We're going to play those 3 little kids together. And I say littles because that's what we call them in practice. I'm not disparaging them. I call them that to their face. The little bigs and littles, talls and smalls. So we're going to be incredibly fast. But I think with Sasha's return, with Talia's coming in is a scorer, I don't know that Sam's numbers will move one way or the other, but I think her effectiveness and her impact on the game will continue to do what it's done since she's been here, which is just increase every year.
Coach, going back to the Jersey situation.
Yep.
And the mental side of it, especially for like Mac, this is happening now and the timing of it now, and especially with her last year, it's not a distraction during the season or say come late in the season. Just your thoughts on that and the timing of this.
Y'all can talk to her when you get out there. Just a little I've talked to her. Mac has a great perspective on it. She's been making sure that everybody on the team was ready to play regardless of who it was. So she didn't show me any sign since last Friday of being impacted other than having a teammate that we're not going to get a chance to play with. And we dealt with them all over the weekend, and I haven't seen a thing in practice. But you can ask her. She'll be able to tell you.
And last thing for me, when a few weeks back when we were talking to Mac and Sam and we said the word depth, you could just see the relief come off their shoulders and knowing that not only we talked about, playing 35, 40 minutes a game, but you don't have to come in and practice as hard because you have a lot of people around you.
Yeah, you're not on team 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're on team 2 and 4 or whatever. And they like that. They can really manage their load. They can manage their energy. Those guys have gotten good at practicing. It takes a while to get good at practicing. They're good at practicing now. They also, one thing they mentioned in that conversation was they don't feel like they show up every night with a pressure to do X, Y, and Z in a game, that the game might not dictate that. Again, like I said, we might have this game plan of getting them X number of shots. Well, if the other team decides to change that, they don't come in with that pressure. And I think it's a fun place to play as a player when you can count on multiple people to be able to impact the game. This is the most unified our team has been in my 7 years. It is not even close. And from whatever reason, I don't know if it's the foreign trip, I don't know if it's what we've been through, circumstances, what we went through last year, the close losses, but it's no doubt our most unified, bought in. I mean, even these little silly things I do with these moon balls, and y'all see a NASA jacket out there. Sometimes that's a little corny-ish, but, man, this group's in it. Like, Sam's in it. Like, she's coming up with ideas, and I'm like, wow, I'm a little surprised. But she's got great thoughts on it, and y'all will hear a lot of NASA references. We're learning all kinds of things.
Yeah, moving on to just talking a little bit about ULM. They have Coach Bilderback, who there's no shortage of connections there with. Carly played for her at Jones College, and then their roster has a lot of people y'all played before. Just what do you think about them and her?
Well, anybody that's looking at what they did last year, you're doing it wrong because it's a different team, it's a different coach, it's everything. And we go back to Alexis Tolfree too. Tolfree played for her, and that's the school where Pauline came from. So lots of connections to Coach. She obviously was hired for a reason because she's a builder. And she went in and, guys, she's got 3 starters from the SEC on that roster, or 2 from the SEC and 1 from the ACC. So this roster, when we were putting the scout together, it's kind of funny because they're all in different uniforms. Why you got a clip of a kid from Clemson? We played against her. We played against Jayla Johnson. We played against Sanaya Wells. We've played all these kids. So it's got our kids' full attention. I can promise you this, it's not the team that we scheduled to open the season with. When we scheduled it a year and a half ago, I think they didn't win very many games last year. This team may be picked low, but they won't finish low. I don't know. They've got a 6'5" post player too who's waiting waiver. That's an incredible player. They're not sure whether she'll be eligible or not eligible, but whether the waiver will be granted in time for the game. But if she rolls out there and is in uniform, you're talking about 9 kids. They look like Coach Muss's team. We're all in this room. We all saw what there's a bunch of people that have played at a real high level for a bunch of teams and scored and played. And you saw what this place looked like last weekend. So it's an easy talk about our kids. And we've tried not to let them get ahead, but they're already talking about it. So it's going to be a team that when, again, they roll out there, it's going to have an SEC look. And now they're going to be new. It's going to be their first game with her. But I can assure you they'll play hard, and they'll be SEC caliber athletes on the floor.
And then you talked about, you got Alexis Tolfrey from there, Carly Keats. That means I'm sure you and her have to have some sort of relationship just through that whole process. Sure. Just what does that look like?
When from those two developed a mutual respect, and obviously the style of play fits. They play a lot like we do, and she and I share very similar ways about doing practices, and a lot of our systems are the same, and a lot of our philosophies about not turning it over and taking good open shots. We've talked numerous times not about recruiting, just about basketball stuff. So when she got the job and we knew that they were on the schedule, it was exciting. I like to play against people I have respect for, and we got a lot of respect for her individually, and her taking that job going down there. She will get that thing going in a hurry.
Coach, I've got to ask, when did you come up with this idea, and how'd that all come about?
A friend of mine did a talk about the distance you missed the moon by. His name's he's a coach in the league. Buzz Williams, coach at Texas A&M. I saw him do a talk about if you start off from Cape Canaveral in Florida, 1 degree off on your mission to the moon, and you miss the moon, you'll miss the moon by 4,167 miles or something. He was way more specific than I was. He had it down to the foot, I think. But the thought was if you start on the wrong path and you stay on that wrong path, you end up missing it. So we used that as our first talk in the preseason. We made it our own. We had some other talks about, ways to stay on the path. And it's kind of been something we've drawn back to. But talking to friends, talking to him, talking to other people, making it our own. And then listening to my players like, hey, Coach, let's get this. Hey, let's do that. Hey, how about this? And so I'm not very good at mottos and themes and things like that. I'm really not, but I've tried to get better at it. It's an area I've tried to get better, so we're going to try to stick to this one as long as we can.
And the team seemed to be in pretty good spirits in there earlier. Just kind of, is that something that's been missing here over the past couple of years?
It has.
Just letting everyone do their own thing and have a good time while doing it?
Well, I think we're a year further from all the things that we went through. We're a year more healed from COVID and social injustices and all the things that kids have been having to go through. We're a year better. Yeah, we have been missing it. We miss Sasha's smile and energy and, her in practice. We miss that every day. There were all sorts of things that I look back to now that we haven't had. Sometimes you don't know you're missing something until it's gone. And then when you get it back, you're thankful for it. So, like I said, this is not coach speak setting up here trying to convince you. Y'all come see. We're more unified. We're more together. They share it better. They do things more together. I don't have any illusion that they're all going to be each other's bridesmaids if they ever get wedded, get married or whatever. That's just never going to happen on a team. But as far as mutual respect on the floor and between the lines and when we're in there eating and when we're traveling, I knew that after the trip overseas this summer. You don't spend 21 straight days with anybody on the planet and not have some moments where you're like, would you get out of my face? I'm tired of being around you. I don't care who it is. But I didn't see any of that. And it was, what it was some very minor. So we haven't been off the path for very many days. And when we do get off of it, somebody corrects it. It's a beautiful thing right now. And I hope it continues to be that way because we all know the ups and downs a season creates and causes. And if you don't know how to navigate it, one of our quotes yesterday was, smooth air doesn't make for a very good pilot. I think it comes from an old really quote about a sailor in a sea or something. But to make it NASA, if you don't go through some adversity, you don't know how to get through those things. So I like where our team's at. I'm glad you noticed that. Hopefully you'll see that when you get out there as well.
Yeah, Coach, over the past, couple of minutes, you brought up Talia Scott a couple of times. What has she shown you over the first 25 or so practices?
There was an article today in ESPN that I thought nailed it perfectly too. She's a bucket getter. Like everybody knows she can score. She scored 57 in a game. She had 47 in the state championship. She made 11 threes in her state championship game in Florida. She won every shooting contest you could. But it was been her defense throughout camp that just kept showing up. And then also, we wear a Connexon device. You'll see our strength and conditioning coach hand them a little chip that they wear, and it measures a plethora of things that I'm really glad he doesn't put one on me, because I'd be very embarrassed about my exertions during a practice. But her exertion level, her a number of accelerations, the time she jumps, how fast she does everything. 15 out of the first 16 days, she was number one in those areas. And she wasn't – it takes a while to get buckets in college, but when she came in and established herself defensively, I called her summer league coach and said, I've misevaluated your kid. And he was like, oh, no, what, can she not score? I said, oh, no, she's doing fine there. I just never realized how good of a defensive player she was. She took 3 charges in our first scrimmage game in Croatia, and probably should have had 2 more. So I've been impressed with how she's transitioned into being a freshman, how she's handled coming in. And, Mac and Sam are pretty established. They're pretty established, and she came in ready to compete. She didn't come in asking for anything, came in asking for an opportunity, and has gone through it. And I would tell you at this point, getting the buckets is the least of the things that she's impressed us with. It's her effort, it's her energy, it's her coachability, it's how hard she tries, it's how well she passes it, and it's how willing she is to defend. So when the bucket getting comes, it came one day. We had our men's practice team out there, and she got 38 in 20 minutes on them. And they could, and y'all can talk to Matt, he'll be out there later. He was the one trying to guard her. He said, Coach, I can't stop her. I'm trying as hard as I can. I cannot stop her. So she's been a lot of fun. There's a lot of expectations on her. There'll be a lot of moments where she'll grow this year, but she's learned to be very thankful for Mac and Sam being here to help her through it. And I've told both of those kids, especially Mac, part of her legacy, is cemented as it already is going to be how good she leaves this place. Does she leave Talia kind of ready for the next 3 years, 2 years, being running beside Sam, and then ready to take over when they're both gone?
And it's perfect that you bring that up, because that was actually my next question. How
Okay.
has Talia been kind of, developing a relationship, and how have you seen her really taking after Mac and Sam?
Well, there's ways I don't want her to, first and foremost. So she's learned the difference, but no, I'm just kidding. It's been a process, because you come in and you compete first. And I brought all 3 of those kids in. Ironically, I had them sitting right up here, and I kind of stood down in front of them. And we just talked about it. Y'all talked to Mac and those guys, Sam, about it. But like I said, for the first, all the time we've talked about, the trip, the 30 days, the 10 days, y'all have been kind of competing against each other. There's no doubt about it. I'm not going to sit up here and try to tell you weren't, because you were. But y'all have earned the trust of your teammates and your coaches that we can play you together. And you kind of saw them all kind of look at each other and go, like that. Like now you can play for each other. And it showed up in our very first practice against our guys. When they got past that, it was like this, I don't know, I guess a sense of relief that, okay, he is going to play us together. He trusts us. And you just saw another level of all 3 of them. So I don't know if I answered your question, but hopefully kind of, that I think it's been a process. It's been gradual, but I think it's the way it has to be for it to work. You're welcome.
You mentioned that you had 2 secret scrimmages. Share some secrets of what you got out of it.
They call them super secret because we can't talk about them ahead of time. I prefer super secret scrimmages since we've had the exhibition games already overseas this year, because what you do is you call that coach and you say, we need to work on X, Y, and Z. Would you do this for us? And they say, yeah. And I say, in return, what do you need from us? So we're able to get usable film of them doing what we want to do. He wanted us to press, so we were able to press. When we played Tulsa, they didn't really want us to press, so we didn't press. But we did other things. I've learned that it's not just hope that we have depth, it's actual. I've learned that we can cause people a lot of problems offensively. We scored 37 points in one quarter. Only gave up 24 with that team. We'll have to get better defensively, but our offense can be explosive at times. But then there were other times our defense, we put a defensive line up and we were able to stop them. So that the depth is real, I would tell you, first and foremost. And the other thing is we have more makers this year than we had last year. and in the last couple years. Not shooters. Got about the same number of shooters, but we have more makers. All of our drills that we do from year to year to year, and we track the records of, our total number of makes are astronomically higher. So I think we've got more people that can make a shot. The last scrimmage we did against Tulsa in the first quarter, we had 7 different players make a 3. We went 8 for 10, and we had 7 different players make one. So it's spread out. It's not as isolated. I think we can be explosive. The depth is real. And I did learn, through those 2 things that we can handle adversity a little bit already.
So one was in Tulsa. Who was the other one with?
TCU.
Were they here or there?
Yeah, we did them both here. Yep. Super secret because nobody even knew about them. I'm not in any hurry, so if did anybody have, or y'all can get me out there, or.
I was just going to ask you, Mr. Blumenthal, how many Apollo 13 references you have made so far?
Let me think. I can think of it. Yeah, I can think of at least 8 or 10. I mean, and they know none of them because, I ran in this at home. I ran into this at home one night. I was making some references, and I looked at JC and I said, "Are you not getting any of these?" And she goes, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Apollo 13, the movie." She goes, "What are you talking about?" I said, "You didn't see Apollo 13?" She goes, "Yeah, I wasn't born." So I had to go, "Oh, wait a second. Wow, okay. Let me back up." So we're going to watch Apollo 13 as a team because they don't get any of my real subtle ones. They get the obvious ones. Houston, we have a problem. They don't get any of the ones that y'all, no.
See if you're going to give them like a tissue box, a tube, and something, and see if they can figure out how to put it together and fix the spacecraft.
Yeah, I wanted to get, a little white jacket, and have the mission patches. But we do have a mission patch. You'll see a NASA jacket out there. We do have a helmet on the way. I was in a unbelievable bidding war on eBay for that one, but I got it. I was really proud of myself. So, but the shipping has been an issue. So it'll be something again, and because of the way they've adapted it and the way that they've taken more interest in it than anything we've ever done along that line, it's been kind of cool. So I'll try to drop a few subtly with Brett Dolan on our broadcast and see if we can have a yearly bingo. I'll send out a bingo card. How about that? I'll make a bingo card. Can we do like the right stuff in there too, and other moon related movies? Yeah. Hey, our kids are ready. They're great. Please ask them anything. And if you need something from me, I'll be milling around too. Happy to do whatever.